Alright, yeah, welcome to the session on creating screencasts about apps that run on your iPad, and we're also going to talk a little bit about other like Android tablets, but it's mostly going to be focused on the iPad because that's the only place you can really do that right now. Alright, I'm going to turn off Twitter, hold on, that's going to be annoying. Yeah, so this idea of creating screencasts or having a Camtasia for iPad is not easy because Apple doesn't allow us to simply, make Camtasia for iPad. Where you click record, you demo your app, you browse your websites, you hit stop and you're done. You just can't do it because Apple doesn't want you to. So it's not as easy, unfortunately. But there, fortunately, last few months, there are a couple workarounds that have come through, that have been established. And I've been playing with them the last few weeks a little bit because this topic really interests me, because I think, I've been creating screencasts on my computer for years. What's the next big thing? Like, what is the direction we're all going? How many in here actually have an iPad or any other kind of tablet? Yeah, see? Perfect. And it's a huge growing market. It's going to get bigger and bigger. So I'm trying to figure out what do I need to do to cater to that market, to work in that market. I kind of look at it as the quest for the Holy Grail. I'm never really going to find the final solution, but at the same time, we're going in the right direction. So this is kind of like the quest for the screencasting Holy Grail solution. We're not there yet. We're really far away from it. But I do have an iPad. So yeah, just want to kind of share what I've come up with. And I would love to hear stories. I know there's some of you that have already created screencasts about iPad apps. What have you figured out that works well, not so well? And then with our collective knowledge, maybe we can, I don't know, convince Apple to change their mind and let us make Camtasia for iPad. I don't know if we can go that far. But anyway, we all, I think, leave the session with a better idea of what's possible and get us all thinking about ways we can really tackle this. Yeah, it's a new project, this new space. What could solutions look like to do this? Okay, so the first one is a pretty often overlooked solution, simply using a camera and on a tripod and filming the iPad. It's not really what we have in mind when we say, I want to make a mobile app screencast, but it actually works pretty well. I have a quick example here. I don't have audio. I'm just going to show it so I can talk about some of the benefits that this has. So yeah, this is a tutorial that, I wish I had audio. Come on. Brooks, where's your hand? There's your hand. All right. So you see the app fairly well. You see really well the hand gestures. That's a really big part on the way people interact with the iPad. You really see where you click, how you use the scrubbing wheel. And that's going to be really difficult to show in any other kind of screencast when you don't actually have the hand in the recording. Because the way we interact with the devices, with the hand, is still a big part of it, a really important part of it. So we do have some glare from the sun. We don't quite see the details as perfectly as we want. It doesn't quite doesn't look quite as polished as a proper screen recording. But for what it's worth, it really gets the point across if you're just trying to demo something real quick. And you really only need any type of tablet, a camera with a tripod. Doesn't really have to be that good of a camera. Anything will really work. Good lighting, natural lighting is good, so you get less of the reflection. And if you have a microphone to record the audio, like an external microphone, you can somehow connect to the camera or maybe to a second program and then sync them afterwards. Helps you get get better audio quality. Yeah, so the really good thing about it is that the gestures you do with your hand are captured one-to-one as they really are in real life. So people can really get that on how that experience is. It also works with any kind of tablet, while many of the other solutions only work with iOS. But then, yeah, that's how we have been doing it. But we want to see what can we do to make proper screencasts with iPads. But I wanted to mention it just because it's often overlooked or ignored. But when you're really just trying to get the point across, that might be the easiest way to go, considering how limited we are on the other things. The second and currently best way to doing it is to mirror the screen of your iPad onto your computer. And once it's on your computer, we all have Camtasia, then you just record that sucker and you have a recording of your iPad screen. So how do we do that? A few months ago, there was an app that was called Reflection. And Reflection really was a breakthrough because it allows you to mirror what's on your iPad to your computer screen. Before that, you really needed an HDMI output cable and a video card on your machine. But with this $15 app, you can simply mirror what we have on here onto here. And let's actually do that. There's another one, a competitor, Air Server, they do the exactly same thing. So there's two options, both are $15 or 15 euros, doesn't really matter. Okay. Go for it.
They call it Reflection app. It's not an app that you run on your iPad. It's actually a desktop application
thank you.
that you run on your Mac or PC. And it was recently added to PC. It was Mac only until maybe a month ago.
Yeah. So the first thing you do is you download Reflection to your computer and you start Reflection. I'm running the trial version. Okay, now it's running in the background. And now so assuming the computer and the iPad on the same wireless network and you don't have crazy security stuff on it like we do here, that's why we actually have to set up a separate Wi-Fi network just to do this demo. How do I do this? There we go, come on. Okay. So Reflection is running on here. And it uses the Air Server capabilities that is built into the iPad. Now on my iPad, come on. Yeah, keeps popping out. We good? Okay. I double click on the home button. It's not showing that. Oh, you bastard. Okay. Then I don't need you. Okay. Alright, I'm sorry, this is going to be really hard to see, but it's really simple. So, on your iPad, you double click on the home button so you get this little bar at the bottom where you can have all the simultaneous apps that are running. You slide to the left, and if it works, you're going to have this extra button right here. I can show that in my PowerPoint in a second, a little bit more clearer. Actually, let's do that. Then you can actually see it. So. Yeah. For which one?
How are you hooking the iPad into your laptop? Just
Wireless.
wireless?
Wireless. It just goes to the wireless network. Okay. So basically what I was trying to show you, knowing that it wasn't going to work because it's a presentation, I made a screencast in advance to show you what I wanted to show you. Because that's what I do. So you start out by starting Reflection app. Yeah, can I go to full screen with this? No. Okay. So it starts running in the background. Great. Now you go to your iPad and you do a double tap. Come on. You do a double tap on the home button. You slide that little guy on the bottom to the left, and then you get this button right here. It's going to be here. Yeah? You click on that. You have some, come on. It's going to show you all the computers that are running Reflection that are connected on your network. You click on that, and then you get this. This is my computer screen, and it's displaying the iPad on there, and that we can show.
This kind of like looks like the old Chapel TV thing.
Exactly.
Okay.
So
Right.
let's AirPlay you on. Come on. Alright, so one thing is, sometimes this Reflection app is not as reliable. It just takes a little while.
You may have to call it again from your iPad if you switch to the network app.
Maybe. Okay, it does not wanna. actual mirror it.
Yeah, what you might want to do is just restart reflection. I've noticed that. So what we've done here, our TechSmith network, like a lot of other networks, will not allow. I think it's multicast traffic, or there's something that a lot of networks will block, and it can certainly be problematic. So I'm actually running it off my little hotspot on my phone. Other ways we've gotten around is just plugging in another router and setting up a rogue network. Not that I'd ever do that at TechSmith. And then you can just kind of connect into that one. But it's something to keep in mind that you may not be able to do this in your classroom, and you may have to go home. Like, if you just have your own home network set up, it's likely going to work unless you've done some crazy thing to tweak security on your router.
All right. So it doesn't actually want me to do this right now, which is too bad. But what you get... let's jump back here. So... what it really does, the reflection app, it shows an image of an iPad on your screen, and anything you do on here is being mirrored on your computer screen. So then you just take Camtasia, and you select this region right here to record it, and then you just record the screen like you normally would. And anything you do on here, you're going to have in your recording in Camtasia Studio at the end. It's pretty straightforward. If you want to have the nice iPad edge around it, you can also do it like this entire region around, and then you already have the iPad frame included as well. Yeah, so that is, it works well in certain networks, not so well in others. It works great at my house. I don't know what's wrong here. But it's considering that it's only $15, that's great, because the alternative is to do a video capture box which takes an HDMI input, and those cost $500, $600, $700, and the quality is not any better. The apps do transmit the system sound, so if you want to have that Angry Bird song as you're showing the app, you can have that. The reflection does create the iPad frame I just showed you automatically, and you can choose if you want to have, I think you can even choose if you want to have the white one or the black one. The other one, Air Server, does not do it yet. They probably will add that pretty soon. The downside is none of the gestures. Where are we clicking? Where are we swiping? Was it a two-finger swipe? Was it a pinch? Was it a zoom? None of that gets recorded. We just have the screen as it moves, like it moves by magic, because there's nothing showing where we're clicking. And that really is still the biggest struggle in this, quest for the holy screencasting grail. Yes?
I had posted something on the TechSmith. I had posted something on the TechSmith forum a couple weeks ago, and someone pointed me in the direction. There's a product called GestureWorks, and they've documented all of the gestures for multi-touch devices, and they have fonts and images that you can download, and I've been integrating those as we've been doing some training for mobile devices. So if you've got a double click, there's a gesture for a double click that you can put on that part of the screen, or a swipe, or how to rotate.
What is it called?
GestureWorks.
Okay, great. I'll have to check that out. I'm glad you mentioned that. All right, so you got it?
Yeah, my resolution's a little.
Yeah, go for it.
It's a little bit messed up, but you can just so you can see how it works. So it'll be a little bit slow on this network, but if I wanted to, I can probably go into Screenchomp. So if I wanted to just get a drawing app, and it's not too bad. It's loading at about the same speed. So now I guess what I would normally do is start up Camtasia. I won't, because I didn't want to tweak my resolution here, but then I could just start drawing like I normally would in Screenchomp, and it's pretty close to live on
But
that
you see
screen.
right here, we're not getting any of the gestures. You don't see where he's clicking, what he's doing, and that's what we're going to be recording. So that's one thing that's going to be missing still. But thanks for demoing that.
Yep.
Cable?
Screenchamp on your things.
Mhm.
That you have to pay for that? Is that free?
It's free.
So, yeah. In terms of, yeah?
Would it work to combine your video camera and this program and do mostly a translucent overlay of your gestures on your
I'll get to that. Perfect. But yeah, we're thinking the same thing. Yeah, if the reflection app thing is not working for you and you have a lot of money to spare, there are video capture boxes. The one on the left, I think, it's called the black box, and it's 400. So basically, you can take the HDMI output of your iPad 2 or 3, and using an HDMI cable, feed it in, and that box is going to record it for you. So it basically does what Camtasia and Reflection do, but it does it as a magic little box, and then you can transfer it from there to your computer. You can also, if you have not a laptop, but like a proper tower, there are video capture cards. Those run about $150, and they do the same thing. You can connect your iPad via HDMI to your computer, and then that way you can display it on the screen, just like Reflection does it. And then use Camtasia to record it. Some of these have recording built in, but I just like using Camtasia because it has really good frame rate, and it's the format that Camtasia likes the best, and it just works afterwards, because I still do my editing afterwards in Camtasia. So there's some other options. There's one that takes your output and turns it into USB, but that one is, I think, like $800, the orange one. So that seems a little bit much for just wanting to make a mobile app screencast, especially since there are other options and other ways of doing it. Third options, that is great, but I'm not supposed to encourage. If you are one of the people who likes to, where's my resolution off? Who has a device that's jailbroken, there is a Camtasia for iPad called Display Recorder. It records your screen. It also records the visualized touches. It works really well, but you do need to have a jailbroken device, which messes up your warranty, and yeah, therefore I'm not recommending it. But if you are technically, if you feel like you can handle it and you want to do it, check it out. It's basically the app I wish we could build legally within the Apple framework. Fourth one is, if you're a developer, you have access to a simulator to show your own app. You can record that with Camtasia as well, but I don't think that applies to most people. And I haven't tried it, and from what I understand, you can only demo your own apps because you can load them into that simulator. So it's good for showing off your own app, but if you just want to make a tutorial about, hey, this is how I'm using all my education tools on my iPad together, sorry. So yeah, this is really it's good for some people, but not really. And it's also really complicated from what I hear from our developers, so they don't even do it. They use the other methods. So you recorded the screen, and now what do you do with that? Because we do our basic editing, we add some audio if you haven't already done that. But what about visualizing the gestures? Trying to put it back in, where did we actually click? So here are two ideas I had and I played around with, and I want to share them with you, and then I would love to get your feedback on what you think looks good and bad, and also what ideas and what the gentleman back there said, what other things you have seen that work well, because yeah, we're trying to find the Holy Grail, and those are all pieces of the puzzle. So the different gestures, there's different tabs and clicks, double clicks, pinching, spreading, left swipe, right swipe, up, down, diagonal, two finger swipe. There's a bunch more, just to show there is a lot of different things we need to visualize. We can't just have one icon that does it all for us. So what I first played around with is I created a bunch of circles. I don't know why they look like X, but they're circles. And in Camtasia, I animated them to show where I'm touching. So I changed the size and the opacity to symbolize, to show that. So can I get my resolution adjusted? Yeah, maybe not. Okay. All right, so here we go. So this is a left swipe. So I resize it to symbolize a click. And now for pinching, I figured that could work okay, having the circle gonna go apart. So that was just something I put together in an afternoon, but I think that's a good step. I don't think the white circle is very distracting. You can still see the actual meat of the content. It's not interfering. But it's clearly, it's going to be hard to really visualize all the different animations with just that circle, especially like I guess a three-finger swipe could be three dots that go down. The way I've done it is in Camtasia Studio, that's a better one. So I imported just one graphic. That's the graphic, just the white dot. And using in Camtasia Studio, it's the new in 8. That wouldn't have been possible in 7. I used the visual properties to do the animations. In Camtasia for Mac, you could use the, I think they're called actions, or blank actions or so. Anyway, you can also manipulate objects. And then you can see I have a lot of action items on here for each of the clicks. So for example, for the, is that the click? No, that's a swipe. Let's go to the click. Okay, so right here, at this point, my mouse or my finger is here, and it needs to go over to screen jump. So I just added an animation that moves the white dot a few seconds over. Yeah. Then for showing actually the click part, I shrink it down and I increase the opacity of it, and then just like a fraction of a second later, I zoom back out to its visual size, so kind of like looks like it goes in and out. So I'm gonna just so if you look at that, it's just gonna get small and get big again. So it's a really big pain to really put that together. It took a long time, but I only have one graphic I'm working with, so I don't need to have many different ones. It's doable, but it takes a lot of time to put that back in. And then yesterday or the day before, I started looking at another solution, and that's what you were talking about, with the green screen. And I had actually the guy who's doing video back there, he was helping me, and he recorded my hand in front of a green screen, and I was doing a bunch of different gestures. And Camtasia Studio doesn't support green screen yet, so he actually was kind enough to create an MOV file that is transparent for me. In Camtasia for Mac, you could just use the remove color options to get rid of the green. And then with these options, is it a video? Yeah. So now I did the same video, and I just added my hand into it, trying to do the clicks. It's not perfect, it's more of a proof of concept, but I'm actually quite liking it. So check it out. Yeah, I didn't do a up swipe, so I had to turn my arm.
Disembodied arm is very good.
Yeah. So.
It's the thing.
Yeah. So it's not perfect, but I like the concept, and I'm considering redoing it and doing it properly and making sure I get all the gestures this time, so I don't have to turn my arm like this in the animation to do it. But I do think it comes across pretty well, because it really shows how you're supposed to move your hand. Again, it's still a lot of work afterwards. You have to really go in and look at your screencast and be like, okay, what was the motion I did there? And you have to add the graphic. Also, it's not a continuous hand motion, as you see, but it's more the hand shows up here, does something, goes away, pops up over here, clicks. And it's not too bad, but it could cover up the information you're really trying to show. So you probably need, in an idea word, you have 10 different versions of each of the clicks, and once with the left hand, once with the right hand, and you pick the one that really works best for you. But yeah, I'm just going to play this one more time, so you can look at it one more time.
So when you perfect these, you can make them available for everybody?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think another thing that could be cool would be, have you tried with messing with the opacity on the layer of your hand?
No, I have not.
'Cause that might, you could see some other stuff through it, but it might help provide a little more context if it's covering up something really important.
Yeah, that's a good idea to have, like I said, did the recording yesterday or the day before, and I played with it yesterday, so it was more just, does it even work? Does it look good? Or is it like instantly like, oh no, bad idea, don't go there. But I think it works okay. I think that's something to do. Yeah, and if Camtasia Studio 9 would ship with a whole bunch of these, that would make me really happy, but all right. I also did a run where another set where I recorded my hand a bit more close up, but I didn't like it because it really covered up too much. It was like this massive thing that comes in and it's like, bam! So this is really more like I'm standing at the board and I'm pointing at stuff, but it works. Yeah, so it's the hand is smaller. You know, if you look at the iPad and my hand, it's a lot bigger than this. But even though they're out of proportion, they don't feel out of proportion, and they really don't. They're not as obtrusive as as this. That's really really taking up a lot of space on your screen. And I think this is a little bit more subtle, and you really can focus more on the screencast itself and less on my hand and my my scar and my whatever.
Another thing too, I'm noticing just looking at your screen, we have some distortion from the projector too, so I think it looks like super clean on the regular normal resolution too.
All right. Last one that I have for you guys is the device frame. So we have recorded the screen, and most of the time it just comes in as the screen, no iPad border around it. If you use reflection, it includes a border, so you could just record that. Camtasia for Mac has an option built in, it's called device frames. So you just add it as an effect, and you can it adds the and it adds an iPad frame to your recording, which is super nice. And then in Camtasia Studio, for the last recording I did, I simply made, it's getting cut off, but I made a transparent frame of the iPad that I could just place on top of my recording. And I added it as an image callout on top of it and put my video in the middle of it. So that was not difficult and pretty easy to do. It also has the benefit that you could use non-Apple specific frames if you want to have it, more product neutral. But I don't know what Apple's laws are in terms of using those for commercial use. I know there's some pretty strict guidelines. So if you're just playing around with it, have fun. If you're trying to use this in a marketing project, look into it a bit and see if you're allowed to use it in that specific sense. That's all I got for you guys. It's still a long way there, but yeah, I would love to hear some of your feedback and your experiences on this, and use the mic so the people on the stream can follow it as well.
One other thing, and we've been showing the iPad. This is perfectly fine on an iPhone too, and I don't know if the new iPod touches with Wi-Fi have AirPlay, but if they do, that would work as well. Questions? I'll run around.
Not really a question. I just wanted to, maybe Anton could talk about this, but the camera that Brooks used in that video, I don't think it was just a standard webcam. It's something called a document cam, and the differences between what a document cam is and a normal webcam on a tripod.
Actually, I talked to him, and no, he just used his
did you just
DSLR or something like that. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's even another, so maybe just talk about different types of cameras and why some are better than others for that type of recording.
Mm-hmm. I don't know too much about cameras, so I really don't. But maybe someone else does.
And one thing I would say, it's probably even more important than camera is the lighting itself too, and the environment you set it up in.
Yeah.
So we're using the video camera method, and we have several pieces in pre-production with it. And the reason we use the video camera method is because the students have been very clear that they want to see those gestures. They want to see the instructor's hand. We're using a HD camera, and we're essentially just using a articulated tripod that's got an arm that comes out 90 degrees, and then we point it down. So it's essentially the same setup as a document camera, but that allows us to create video that then we put in Camtasia, and we can add other animations and things on top of it. If you're interested in setting something like that up, there's a really good tutorial at adorama.com.
Okay.
That's done by Mark Wallace. who does all their videos. He's actually a Phoenix-based photographer, but they did a really solid tutorial on how to set up to record your iPad with a video camera.
What was it called again?
Adorama.com. It's actually a photography company in New York that sells cameras and things, but they have a really excellent section with a lot of tutorials. You know, if you go there, you'll find at least a dozen tutorials you're interested in. And if you go to their site, it's adorama.com. And then in the upper right-hand corner, yeah, it's ADORAMA. And then if you go in the upper right-hand corner there where it says Adorama TV,
Yeah.
so all the tutorials you would ever want to find about setting up a camera for this and what the difference between video resolutions and all that stuff, you can search through here, and he's got tons of tutorials on that stuff.
Great. Yeah, as a follow-up, I put that together with the site you mentioned, and we'll share that at the end of Screencast Camp with everyone in like the session summaries, where we'll also be posting the recordings if you want to look at it again. And I'll also can post the MOV file I have right now. It's not perfect, but if you want to play around with it, it works well for that purpose. So yeah, I'll make sure you all can have access to that at the end of Screencast Camp if you want to look into that more. But yeah, I don't think, like the camera option, I think is still the not necessarily the best option, but in terms of how much work do I have to put into it to make it look good, and how can I really convey the interaction people are having with my app, I think that's probably still the best way to go, because that's really the only way you can really capture especially complex motions. It's one thing if I swipe left and right on my iPad, it's another thing if I'm playing a game or if I'm, you know, interacting a lot more with it.
And I think that's especially a strong argument for when you're doing something which is, this is how you use this app, especially for a community of users who have never used it before.
Yeah, and yeah, and the point is, people learn from it. They see your video and they know exactly, aha, this is how I work with it, and they might not quite see it as crystal clear as they might if it was a proper recording, but they get the notion of the app a lot better because they see how you interact with it, and that's at least as important. Other feedback, questions?
I had one other comment. One thing that I just thought of, it's easy to do a little recording mistake. Remember where your microphone is when you're doing this, because you could be recording from reflection and standing over here with your iPad, because it's, you know, you're not tethered to the thing. So if I'm over here with my iPad and I have Camtasia running over there and the mic's over there, my audio is going to be really distant. So just remember how you're positioning yourself to set that up.
A question to the room: how many of you would like to see Camtasia for iPad? Okay. All right. Hold on, Mike.
So, because my company does software development and we're training professionals, that I'm with you, I think more systems go to a mobile application. Do you not get hit by corporations calling you all the time asking you how to train on their mobile apps? I mean, I would think you would have an onslaught of corporations trying to figure out how they're going to train their staff, their in-field technicians who use mobile applications, that sort of thing. So I was just curious what kind of feedback do you get from corporate America on
I can't really
their apps?
I can't really speak for corporate America. I can speak for corporate Germany, and I'm pretty sure they're similar in a lot of ways. Right now, what I'm seeing is everybody wants to go to iPad. They want to create their learning tutorials and make them available so people can learn on the go. And that's a different story, and just matters on how you produce your video with what settings. And that's the current struggle I think a lot of people are focusing on is, we have all these training tutorials, let's make them available on this. I don't see too many people who, especially in like the corporate world, who have their own app and feel the need to create tutorials about their own app unless they're really trying to sell it. But for internal use or so, I don't see it as much yet. It's mostly the people I talk to are people are just really excited about the iPad, and they want to share how they're using it, what they like about it. bit more hobby, less corporate. Just corporate, at least in Germany, hasn't quite gotten there yet because, yeah, it's corporate. There's often a lot of, it takes years to get anything approved. And right now, the conversations I'm having are definitely more focused on, we have all this content, how can we get it on here?
Okay.
But it'll come.
And we're working with, we work with MBA students at the business school, but we're working with a lot of the same corporate entities. And they're not there yet because there are still too many security concerns about the tablet devices, both about their portability, the ability to lose them easily, and, in the case of the iPad, about just, making them secure and working within the enterprise, because the iPad is not an enterprise managed device. So they can't control what's on it or how it gets distributed.
Cool. Any other? Yes. Can you use a mic?
I was just wondering, is anybody producing any tangible examples? Could we do a show and tell? Has anybody done anything that they're able to share? I realize a lot of us are from
Sorry, could you repeat
proprietary. But do we have any show and tell? Does anybody have anything that they can show in terms of what work? Is anybody doing practical application of screencasting from tablets yet?
I have not. I don't think we really have. I hope it works on this. Trying to switch to the iPad because I keep having issues with the resolution on this one. Okay, that's not better either.
And while you get that straightened out, I have a question for the group.
Yeah.
So Anton asked how many people want to see Camtasia Studio on the iPad. My question is do you guys want to see Camtasia recording on the iPad or recording and editing on the iPad? So is it how many for recording? And then how many for editing? So, okay, everybody. So
good question.
I'm just curious, like, so that question gets thrown out a lot is like, what does Snagit and Camtasia Studio mean on the iPad? And I'm just curious to see if it's the editing portion and with gestures and the mobility of it, or if people are just looking for the ability to capture the screens and on the iPad and then do the editing on the desktop.
We're going to edit on the desktop. And the reason for that is because we work in the So there's actually two answers. The one is for our end users who are trying to get an answer out to students quickly. They may record and edit, but for that group of people, faculty members, we're more interested in something like Screenchomp, where they can just draw out an equation and post the URL to it. But for the stuff that we're doing from the development side, we're going to edit separately. And the reason we're going to edit separately is because we use kind of a repository model. So we may take this tutorial and then insert it into different branding for a given client or, for a different initiative we're doing.
In terms of Snagit, something that conceptually looks like Sketch, but has the TechSmith flavor with the same type of callouts and things like that we'd see on the desktops. If I need to grab something on the go, I can post it either to Screencast to share it, or I can put it onto our blog or our internet wherever I need to put that. But I use Sketch right now, but it looks very different from the product I would create on Snagit.
I was going to say that being able to edit on the go is very important. I'm not sure it needs all of the functionality of the full Camtasia suite, but definitely being able to cut ums and ahs out and things like that would be important. And then also being able to very easily get the video from the iPad onto a desktop machine would be important. Sure. The iPad, iPhone. So So the question was iPad versus iPhone. So raise your hand if you're interested in on the iPhone, smaller device. Nope. So everyone seems to be interested in the iPad for that.
Alright, someone asked about an example of how a screencast or like an iPad screencast could look like, and this is a screencaster from Britain. His name is Don McAllister, and he runs Screencasts online. And he uses, I think currently he uses Reflection or maybe the jailbroken device. I'm not sure. He also is trying to figure out what the solution really is, and he keeps playing with his things. I don't think I have. Can we make audio in here happen, or is that too complicated? Alright. So, alright, let's see if there's anything.
Beams, audio, overlay music, etc. But it's very much a free-form project. You can sort of create your own film or video. The trailers are highly structured.
Alright,
We'll
can you do something?
The trailers are great, actually, if you just want to create a quick 1 or 2 minute, very, very professional-looking clip. Next week we'll be exporting.
Alright, that was a really bad example because he didn't actually do anything. I saw one the other day from him that was actually had him doing stuff, and he used something really similar to the circle that I had to visualize his touches. And also one thing he did that I thought was really good, he talked about the commands he was doing to reinforce what it is, because because he didn't have really complicated gestures for all that. So he was saying, double tap on this. I mean, some of the stuff is pretty obvious. For zooming in, if you have an iPad, you know that you pinch or whatever that is called to zoom in. But he made a point of using the audio to reinforce whatever gestures he's doing, especially if it's something like a 2-finger swipe, always like this natural or in this case, all right, 2-finger swipe will bring down the properties and stuff like that. So that's something he does really good. One thing I discovered when I was doing it, we work incredibly fast on these devices in terms of how we click and swipe. We're all over the place. And that's really, really hard for someone to follow if they're watching you. It's like, wait, what did you do? And then also when you're trying to animate the gestures back in afterwards, my gestures are not fast enough for the way I had originally done my recording. So it's the same for screencasting. When we create a screencast, we take pauses between clicking things, we move the mouse slowly, and that same concept applies to the iPad too. When we create screencasts on that, we can't just run with it, because otherwise it's going to be really hard for us to add effects afterwards, but also for people to follow. And it's always better to just leave a break. You can always cut it out if you feel like it's too long at the end, but just something to keep in mind, because when I first got Reflection set up and had Camtasia running, I was like, yes! And I started playing games, and I went crazy, and then I had a recording, and it was pretty much useless because I wasn't able to, turn it into something that people can learn from. Other questions?